What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. This is Blinkers Off. What's up, my man?
What's going on, buddy? We got a big show lined up here. Basically, just an hour of bullshitting about the Breeders' Cup, right? That's what we got.
Which is kind of what people I think are doing right now. You know, we are in that weird time of the year that the Breeders' Cup preps are over. The racing is definitely lightened up, and you're kind of just on wait and see mode. We don't have the pre-entries out yet. So we've got 2 kind of weeks here before the pre-entries come out, this week and next week, where we basically have shows like this. We'll have this, and then we have next week. We're thinking we might have our boy John White. You know, on his annual. We skipped him this past Derby, and it's like, well, we'll just wait to do it for the Breeders' Cup. So I'll have John White on next week. Not 90%. I mean, John will do it, but yeah. And then, of course, the week after, we got pre-entries for the Breeders' Cup. We'll talk about that. And then the next week, guess what? It's Breeders' Cup week. So that's what we'll be doing. So, yeah, this is a show that we're just going to, come on in. If you're joining us live, tune in and listen and comment we're going to go through our 10, the races we thought were the 10 best of the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series, and just kind of talk about how those races kind of impact what we're looking for when it comes to the Breeders' Cup World Championships in a couple weeks. So if you have a race that sticks out to you, let us know. But a couple more weeks, dude. And we have already started, the work is already starting. We're already planning the guide. We're already planning the content. We're already planning our trip. It's like the calm before the storm, no doubt.
Yeah, and apologies, I forgot to hit record on my audio. So the first thing I said, you're going to have to use your version of it.
What people don't realize it's listening is we aren't together, obviously, right now. And so I always tell them, it's easier if we do this together because I control the audio. I know I do record his audio on my end just as a just to be safe. And it turns out it works. It needs to be safe every time because I have to save his ass every single time. Before we even hopped on live, he's like, I got it. Everything's figured out. There'll be no issues today. I've got this figured out, so we'll be good. Great.
Well, I think I do have it figured out. I think it's sounding really good. I forgot to hit play. I'm sorry, record. Oh, well, hold on. Did I hit play or record? Okay, I hit record. We're recording now.
Shit.
So it should be smooth the rest of the show. Yeah, big show lined up. A lot going on for the Breeders' Cup. We're starting to get news and divisions kind of lined out, so it's gonna be fun. Gonna be a good Breeders' Cup, one of the better ones I think we've had. So,
yeah, I mean, as far as the Classic goes, which obviously is the main event, maybe one of the best. I mean, we've been following, since Zenyatta's year, and I mean, probably the best Classic as far as depth goes that we've ever followed. Of course, there's been stars in a lot of them that have been better than what we have this year, but as far as the depth. And we talked about it last week's show a little bit, like what we have on the line as far as who's going to, win Horse of the Year. So much on the line for this Breeders' Cup. So it's a huge one for sure. We are planning on being there. So that's exciting as well. We're working on an idea too for the guide that I think you guys will really like and kind of help follow along with exactly how we're playing our bets. I mean, to the tee. And we'll be there live, obviously, betting those ourselves and kind of interacting as we go along. So that'll be kind of fun. That'll be exclusive on the wagering guide we have coming out in a few weeks. Hopefully the pre-sale will be available next week. But, all right, we got 10 races we're going to talk about on this show. Lots to talk about. But before we get into that, I know what mine is, but I'm saving it. What's the best thing you saw today?
Well, there's 2 things. One happened literally right before we got on air. I played a joke on our good buddy Ryan Stillman. He was talking to me about boxing or asking if I liked it, and I did back in the day, but I kind of just stopped following it. But I told him it was because that it made me really violent, and I got in a lot of bar fights and stuff like that, and I almost got arrested. He believed everything I said, so that was really funny. He even called me right before we went.
That was the issue, by the way. I know that's why you didn't record, because you were so sidetracked by laughing at that. I could tell you were laughing when the intro song was coming on. I could see you. And I thought to myself, honest to God, he's going to forget to hit record. And that's true.
It's Ryan's fault. It's Ryan's fault for being so gullible. I don't know. It was really funny. The second thing for me, I spent the day in our hometown, Jared. I heard. Which is just a horrible little town all of a sudden, but it's really rough. But anyway, favorite thing of today, it was my mom's birthday. Well, it's tomorrow, actually, on Friday is my mom's birthday, but we went and saw her and kind of celebrated today. And we got her like an Apple Watch because she's been wanting one, because quote unquote, I don't want to, or I want to know when I get a call. And that's like, well, that's why you have a cell phone. But she treats a cell phone like a home phone. She just sits it in one place and doesn't move it. So when she's at work and she's like out in the front, and the phone just stays in the back, she doesn't bring it out. She wants the watch to tell her when she gets a message, which is fine. Okay. But the funniest thing of the whole day, we were setting it up for her because obviously she had no idea how to set it up. And it has like the temperature, the outside temperature on the phone, right? And it was 55 degrees. And she looked at it, she goes, "It's not 55 degrees in here." And I said, "Mom," because we were inside. And I said, "Mom, that's the outside. That's the outside temperature." Oh. How does it know what the temperature is outside? I thought like Heather and I about hit the ground like with laughter. So she has a little trouble with the concept of how it all works. But we got her set up. We kind of explained that, you got a weather app and it's blah blah blah. So she's happy with it. Let's put it that way. But it was fun trying to get her to understand what it was.
So it's not like a thermometer where you can just stick it around wherever you're at.
It doesn't gauge temperature in the room. Yeah.
Well, you know what? God bless our parents. That's you think like I actually I don't think I was thinking about it. You told me earlier when you went to our hometown. I can't remember the last time I was in town there.
Don't go.
It's been a minute. It's usually a drive-through. It's a drive-through town for sure. I don't stop. But it wasn't that shitty when we were kids, right?
I hope not.
I don't feel like it was,
dude. Like, so it's a really small town, and they have a Starbucks, but it's inside a grocery store. So, of course, we want it on the way home. We go in there, and it's just like, this is like, I think I'm gonna get mugged in the middle of the day in this grocery store. I mean, it's a terrible place. If you want like meth, that's a good place to go.
You get Starbucks and your meth while you're there. It's kind of handy,
Yes, yeah. They're selling meth out of the back, I think. But anyway.
All right. You know what the best thing I saw today is. Just moments ago, the announcement, and it's right, Michael Myers, you know what I'm going to say. Le'Veon Bell signed with, who else? The Kansas City Chiefs. The running back, that's just hard to believe that, it turned early in the day, it was like he narrowed it down to the Dolphins, the Bills, and the Chiefs. And then you're thinking, well, surely it's got to be the Chiefs, right? Like out of those three, if you're wanting to, but a 1-year deal. So, we're renting him basically, which makes a lot of sense. I haven't seen the terms, but I'm sure it's not a huge contract just because he's getting paid already from the Jets. And then you can kind of basically work it out as far as him showing his talent. If he's still got it, we'll see. And then he can sign a bigger deal somewhere else, so we're renting it. He said he wants to win a championship and that's where he wanted to go. So let's do it. It's pretty awesome. So it's hard to believe between, Mahomes, now Bell, of course, Tyreek, Kelsey, Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman. It's just insane. Of course, Clyde coming in and out. It's just, hey, yeah, you know what? The rich get richer, Michael. It's true, but as a lifelong Chiefs fan, it's been bad. I mean, it's been really bad. So it feels nice to get on that side of things every once in a while. So when Bell was the free agent, right? He'd held out. You're like, could the Chiefs actually? They need a running back. They were kind of in the need after the Hunt debacle, and you're kind of like, well, maybe they will. And it's like, well, the deal wouldn't have made sense. So this is like the perfect thing. Not only did they go ahead and win a Super Bowl anyways, now you get to rent him for another year at a much reduced cost, and you still already have this hopefully future superstar in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then he can kind of not jump right in, so you can kind of develop him a little more. So yeah, well, I'm sorry. That's bad. At least, being a Jags fan's got to be rough, but at least you got the mustache, Minshew. That's fun. So,
right, yeah.
But no, so very, very good, good day for the Chiefs. It's awesome, coming off that loss which sucked. But he's gonna. I think protocols to sit out 5 days as far as COVID stuff goes. So he's obviously going to miss the Monday night game against the Bills, which that'll be a good game, and then hopefully be back the following week. But he might be 2 weeks out before we actually get to see some action from him. But yeah, that'll be fun. Obviously, gear it up for the later half of the season. So Le'Veon Bell, Kansas City Chiefs. There you go.
I think it's interesting that it kind of came down to the Chiefs and the Bills, and they're playing Monday night.
Yeah,
that was the other rumor, and the Dolphins as well. I guess I never really took the Dolphins seriously because it's like if the Chiefs and the Bills, like the Bills would have been a good spot for him. They're good, but why are you leaving the Jets to go to the Dolphins? I know the Dolphins are better, but still,
it's a lateral move though.
Yeah, you need to go somewhere you can win, and those two made sense, and the Chiefs obviously made the most sense for him. So yeah, it should be good. Boy, if you own the Chiefs running backs, that's going to be frustrating to see what they try to do with both of them. But yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, as you're a Bell owner and in our fantasy league, and it's one of those things that you feel obligated to start him because it's a running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. But there'll be weeks where Clyde gets a lot of touches or whatever, or just you're basically taking a running back, splitting their carries essentially. So, but yeah, we'll see how it plays out. You never know. Andy Reid, that's one thing about him with the running back situation. He's always been he runs with the hot hand, in a game. So if Le'Veon gets hot in a game, he'll stick with him even if it's necessarily Clyde's weak, so to speak, or whatever. So and vice versa, or if Bell fumbles the ball, he's out. That's very much Andy Reid. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they kind of use the two backs, but hell, it's a good problem to have as far as just a general fan. As a fantasy owner, yeah, it's maybe going to be a little frustrating, but when you're 1-4, you don't give a shit, and I don't have any of those players, so I'm just gonna root for the Chiefs. All right, let's get to it. Today's show, we're gonna take a look back at the top 10 performances from the 2020 Breeders' Cup Challenge Series winning or in prep races, and how to use these to help handicap the upcoming Breeders' Cup World Championships at Keeneland. Let's go! Yeah, so that's exciting. Exciting to be a Chiefs fan right now. So it's hard to believe, but I guess when you've got good players, that it attracts other good players. So
my wife just ordered a bat house.
What?
My wife just ordered a bat house.
What is that?
It's a house for bats.
Why?
Okay, so we had a bat like hanging from the bottom of our deck, He just was hanging there one day. So we got a house for him.
Wow. You guys are going to start raising bats out there. That's pretty cool.
It's right here. I don't know if you can see it. It's a bat house.
What do you just mount it on the wall on the side there, on the?
Fuck, I don't know what to do with it. It's this little tiny bat, and then we read, and it's like, yeah, it's actually good to have a bat around because they eat a lot of insects and stuff. So, all right. Cool. You got a bat.
Got a pet bat. What are you gonna name it?
I don't know. He probably won't come back now that we have a house for him.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're gonna go through our, and if you've seen the article already on raceseries.com, then you kind of know what the top 10 are. But we thought we'd give some context behind what the list, and kind of run through these races a little bit and how we're looking at these races as they move, as we move into the actual Breeders' Cup, and just thought it'd be a fun way to kind of relive some of these good races and important races as we gear up for the Breeders' Cup. And if you go back and listen to the recorded show, I'll have little sound bits of each race, which would be kind of fun to listen to those stretch calls and stuff. But all right, let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Oh, and I'm gonna do funny voices too. Not funny voices, but number 10.
Okay, all right.
Not goofy voices, but yeah. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, we are just weeks away from the Breeders' Cup World Championships at Keeneland, and we thought we would take a look at the top 10 performances of these Challenge Series races all year. Throughout the whole year, we've had these important races that as we lead into these World Championships. And, if you go to racenews.com, there's an article and there's links and videos to all these races. You can go back and watch those as well. But we go number 10 through 1 here, and we would kind of run through the races that we thought were the most important, the most exciting, the ones that we think are going to have some sort of influence on the Breeders' Cup, maybe how that result might dictate how you handicap that particular division, things like that. Just kind of a fun way to, what is this? Little Birdie told me you guys might do a snake draft for Breeders' Cup. Haven't heard that, but maybe maybe that's what they talked about on the Magic Mike show.
I'm not going to comment on it. I have an idea of what he's talking about. I'm not going to comment on it.
All right. So without further ado, so people know more than I do. We are going to go through the top 10 races of 2020 for the Breeders' Cup preps. Remember, go to racenews.com to watch these races again. And if you're listening to this after the fact, the sound bits will come, with the each race. All right, let's do this. Number 10, the personal ENSIGN. All right, this one it seems like forever ago. Midnight Bisou, which I think it was her last race, right? That wasn't her last effort there. Got beat by Vexatious in an awesome stretch run. That was a thrilling result, and obviously Vexatious is still on the trail, is still going to be running in the Longines distaff, but she's going to be a huge price. So obviously no Midnight Bisou, she's retired, so it kind of comes down to Vexatious, and I think she's one of those horses that, she was thumped by Monomoy Girl, but she's also a horse that sometimes just runs massive races, and she sometimes can be dangerous. So is Vexatious? She'll be a huge price in the Breeders' Cup, probably be like 30-1 in the Breeders' Cup. So did you take her for real at all?
No, meaningless race as far as the Breeders' Cup, but an absolutely fantastic race as far as a good race there at Saratoga that comes down to not really a head bob, but close. A very close finish. And a huge upset there where the graveyard of favorites at Saratoga, and Midnight Bisou goes down. Unfortunately, it's her last race. But no, I don't think Vexatious has much of any chance to win at the Breeders' Cup. I would be shocked if she wins. She's been waxed twice by Monomoy Girl. And really, when you look at her resume and what she's done overall, it's unexplainable that she was able to beat Midnight Bisou that day. She just did. And give all credit to her for that day. She's going to have to run that again, and I just don't see that happening. So, this was one I'm glad you put on the list, because it was a hell of a race. And you're right, it does seem like 3 years ago they ran this race, but this was a knockdown drag out, and it didn't look like at the top of the stretch. It looked like Midnight Bisou was just going to fly right by. And was, okay, well, this is what we thought, and it turned into a battle that Vexatious won. But no, I don't think she can beat Monomoy Girl.
Yeah, this was August 1st, and it does feel like it was a lifetime ago for sure. And you remember there was an inquiry as well. Mm-hmm. So it was a very awesome stretch run. And kept waiting for Monomoy for Midnight Bisou to get by her, and just and Vexatious just wouldn't give it up. And of course Vexatious went on to get then she ran against Monomoy the next time out, and you kind of thought, okay, we'll see how for real she is or not. And obviously she wasn't. But yeah, that was just a hell of a race. And I agree with obviously with Michael, because Monomoy is probably a pick in the Breeders' Cup distaff, but who you use underneath, and Vexatious is capable. Thing is, do you want to get beat by Vexatious? Like, say you play the exacta with Monomoy. Monomoy Vexatious pays a huge amount.
Yeah, the weird thing about it is I'm not sure that will, because of all the horses that aren't going to be there all of a sudden. Like at one time we thought Gamine and Swiss Skydiver and Midnight Bisou and Monomoy Girl, and now it's just kind of Monomoy Girl. Are we in a situation now where Vexatious is like the second or third choice in the race, and now you're looking for the other Vexatious, so to speak? I'm looking for the shitty version of Vexatious to come up and hit the board, not the one that is actually her, that could be like 6 or 8 to 1 because I don't know who else is going to be in it that's very good. You know,
I know.
Like it fell apart. The race completely fell apart, especially the Swiss Skydiver goes to the Classic, which seems to be what's going to happen.
But she should, yeah, exactly. I know it's tough because you just don't know. You know, no, She Dares the Devil. Swiss Skydiver obviously going to run the Classic.
Yeah, so She Dares the Devil. That's another one. Yeah,
you're just left with who you're going to use. You know,
kind of the same horses that Monomoy Girl's been beating is now what we're left with. When in the time we were like, well, she's running against the B horses, and then she'll have to face the A horses. All the A horses are gone. So, to me, I would look for a 20 to 1 shot over Vexatious.
Do they do a? They do a Distaff Classic double. I'm sure they do.
Oh yeah. Well, they used to when it was Friday, Saturday. I don't know now that they will do that.
Oh yeah,
I think now it's the Juvenile Classic that they do. So.
Oh yeah, I think you're right actually, because the Juvenile is the main. Let's see if I can look, because I was gonna say, you know, if you could pound it's Juvenile Classic. So
yeah.
That makes it a little more. I mean, of course, you could with Juvenile, you might have one too. You know, like where you have a pretty heavy single, and then the Classic. You know, you can go 7 or 8 deep in the Classic, and hope you get. You know, last year's Juvenile Classic, of course, you had a huge price in the Juvenile, but it paid $300.
Yeah,
for a $1 double there. So, you know, it could pay, I guess. Of course, I don't know. I mean, if you have Jackie's Warrior and say, you know, Improbable, it's not going to pay shit. So, so it's one of those. If you think the Classic is super deep, might be something to play there. But yeah, I was thinking if you played the Distaff, you could play Monomoy as well. All right, yeah. So again, that race made the list because like it kept falling further and further back. I was like, I got to include it because that finish, when you're talking about finishes of a race, it's one of the best that we've seen all year. All right, number 9. The JUDDMONTE International. Now, you guys might be thinking, what the hell is that? This was back in, I think, like August 19th. JUDDMONTE International, which is a Breeders' Cup. You probably don't even know this. A Breeders' Cup challenge race for the Classic. You know, right? And this horse, you need to know, this made the list because this horse may actually run, or at least is going to be entered in the Classic and the Turf. And this is Gaieth. Is that how you say it? Very impressive horse who was awesome that day. And then went on to, which we'll talk about here in a second, spoiler alert, but went on to lose to Magical, who is going to run, we think, in the Longines Turf. So another horse that's very impressive, but got beat. So that race it's just one of those, when you're talking about international horses coming over for the vast majority, you know, of all the 14 Breeders' Cup races, this is one of the ones that stands out.
Yeah, this was a really cool international race, and no doubt about it. And you know, these international horses in the past have entered the Classic after winning a race like this, and they haven't fared well at all. So I really hope that's not what they do. I hope Gaieth goes to the Turf, where he's going to have a big shot to win, but not in the Classic. Please do not put this horse in the Classic, especially against this Classic field that's really tough to begin with. And most of them are, but this one's even more tough. I would steer clear, go to the Turf with this horse, and he's going to be a player. And here's why, and spoiler alert, like you said, when we talk about Magical, we'll bring this up again. That division here in the United States, the Turf, has not been good at all. So an international horse is going to win that most likely. And if not, it's going to be considered a big upset. So this is the type of horse you need to start researching now.
Yep, I agree. And, you know, I hopefully they don't run the Classic because I know it was a win and in, and then the horse gets beat in the actual Turf challenge race, which we'll talk about in a second. But still, I mean, like you say, the percentages, the numbers don't bode well for horses that are coming from the Turf and trying the Classic, especially this year when we've established how tough this Classic is going to be. But yeah, it was a very impressive, again, go to racenews.com, watch that. I have the replay up there on the website. But yeah, Gaieth, the number nine JUDDMONTE International, that was her 9th. All right, let's move on to more of a familiar one. Number 8, the Stephen Foster. The Stephen Foster was back in June. Talk about forever ago. June 27th to be exact. Tom's Dietat wins that race, and it's a Breeders' Cup winner in for the Longines Classic. And this had to be included for just by the pure, powerful performance that we saw that day. This horse obviously lightly raced because it hasn't been seen since getting beat by Improbable in the Whitney. But, the horse is, I mean, we know what we've talked about this. Like, he might be the best horse in the field. We don't really know this. I mean, when he's been good, he's been awesome.
He's one you definitely have to watch. And Tom's the top. He brings that Stephen Foster effort that we saw to Keeneland. It's lights out for everybody else. He will be the Classic winner. And at that time, and we were live on air doing a live show when that happened. And by the way, you're right. That seems like 16 years ago when that happened. I think when he ran, we only had like 8 or 9 tracks even open at the time. And that was a huge, huge day. Maxfield won that day. We had Midnight Bisou was on that card. Tom's the top. I mean, it was such a great card. Anyway, he brings that Stephen Foster effort. It's lights freaking out for the rest of it. That was probably the most dominant performance of the year. Big problem. He ran one more time, like you said. He stumbled so bad out of the gate in the Whitney. It was awful. Went to his nose. Still ran a decent third, closed on that track. And then we haven't seen him since. And that is the big key problem. We haven't seen him since August 1st. And now he's running on November 7th in the biggest race of the year, the toughest race of the year. So that's the problem with him.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to me, like that's what makes him so dangerous. Obviously, the layoff is the bigger concern. His loss isn't the biggest concern because it wasn't like he ran his race and he got beat. I mean, he had every excuse in the book. He still made this awesome run to try to do something, in the race. And just obviously, and now knowing what we know with Improbable, obviously that's that was a lot to ask. But the question is the layoff. We haven't seen it for so long, and you hate. I mean, I know I do. Whenever when they decide to wait for we're just going to train up to I hate the words "train up" to the whatever enter the race is like, oh no, it's just I hate it because it usually means something's off with the horse, or they're not completely confident in the horse, and they're not ever going to just if you have a horse that's firing all cylinders, why are you not running them? And so that's my concern with him. But like you said, Stephen Foster race, and that's why I made the list, is because it was, as far as performances go, just impressive performance, powerful, impressive performances. It was probably one of the best races of the year. Improbable, which we'll get to here in a little bit, maybe close to that. But yeah, I mean, if he brings that, it's going to be hard to beat him.
No, there's no question. There's no question about it. I mean, he just looked like a different breed that day. It was awesome.
Are you worried? Michael Myers asked, are you worried with the 10 furlongs with him?
Not really. No, my only concern is that layoff. That's it. I think he gets the 1.25 miles fine. It's maybe he doesn't get the 1.25 miles off of a freaking 2.5 month layoff, but I think he's got it in him to do it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, I agree. He does not concern me from that. That he's always been the classic horse for me until obviously, we hadn't seen him. But I always thought, especially before Improbable erupted, and of course before Tiz the Law really started getting going on the Triple Crown, I was like, well, Tom's Dietat, he's going to win the Classic.
Even after he lost the Whitney, he was still my number one horse for the Classic. It's just it's just the layoff. I just don't get it. But my goodness, you have to use him. If I'm sitting here and saying his best race is going to win it, then you better damn well use him. If you're sitting here after the Breeders' Cup and you're like, oh, well, I almost had that pick 5, but I didn't have the Classic. Well, who beat you? Tom's Dietat. What? Take a baseball bat to your head.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If by my standards beat you, I could say, well, that's tough to get there. And with all those other horses, I understand that's brutal, but still. But Tom's Dietat, no thanks. I did not want to beat.
Hey, by my standards, is a really, really nice horse, and Tom's Dietat beat him in this race like he was a donkey. I mean, it was a terrible. He wasn't even close to him. And by my standards, has won big races this year. So
let's not forget. I know it was a long time ago, and not the distance of the Classic, but Thompson and Todd beat the shit out of Improbable at Oakland.
Yeah.
And, and it again, it was going a mile. It was not totally, I mean, you can't really compare, but let's not, if you're talking about class, at that early in the year,
first start of the year,
Stephen Foster, he was unbelievable. Thompson Todd. So that's why we're sitting here saying, listen, if he can get back to that, then Improbable doesn't know what he's up against yet, because he has, that's not the horse that he's faced and since the Oakland race. So
right, yeah, he has faced him actually.
Yeah,
he does know,
and he was eating dirt, and eating mud that day. So, yeah, that's why we have to use them. All right, let's go to the next one here. Number 7, the Champagne. Now this one's recent. This was just recently here, and this one, I mean, I wanted to make this one lower, to be honest with you, but you have to use this one because Jackie's Warrior might be this lowest priced favorite of the 2 days. He was unbelievable in the Champagne. This 2-year-old is undoubtedly going to be one of the top Derby prospects as we move into next year. He was awesome in the Champagne.
To me, this is the most likely winner of the Breeders' Cup, Jackie's Warrior. I just think he's head and shoulders above the rest of the class. And you throw him and Monomoy Girl. I think those are the two, right, that seem like those are locks as of now. But Jackie's Warrior, I'm going to tell you, that was a really, really impressive Champagne after a really, really impressive Hopeful. I mean, he just looks really good at this point. I guess you could say after a really, really impressive Saratoga Special. So he like every race is amazing from him. This is one I just don't have much worries. The last time the Breeders' Cup was at Keeneland, there was a horse by the name of Songbird on the filly side of things that won the juvenile. And this is what Jackie's Warrior reminds me now on the male side of things. It's like, okay, this is your standout juvenile who just looks better than everybody else. So he's going to be awfully, awfully tough to beat. And I think Reinvestment Risk, who has finished second to Jackie's Warrior twice, including this race here in the Champagne, I think he's a really nice horse. He can't even touch Jackie's Warrior. He's tried twice, and it's like, damn, he can't even make up any ground on him. One last thing I want to say, Magic talked to me about this earlier in the week. Richard Migliori from the Naira broadcast compared this Champagne win to Seattle Slew. And if you look up Seattle Slew's Champagne win, they did look very, very similar. Now, he didn't say he's the next Seattle Slew, but just comparing those two races, they look very similar. Fast early, even faster late. So,
yeah, I mean, this horse, and that's another thing too. Is we see it a lot with not maybe this type of romping, but whenever you have a 2-year-old that's just clear, like you said with Songbird, just clear head and shoulders better than whoever, whatever's out there yet. And again, what happens as this horse develops, 3-year-olds and the other 2-year-olds / 3-year-olds keep, start to catch up, things change. But right now, when you go into the Breeders' Cup, you're just like, I haven't seen anything that could match up with this horse. There's just not, what would have to happen for this horse to lose? And that's kind of how it was with Songbird when she came into the Breeders' Cup. And then you never know how they develop, but yeah, I agree. He should be probably one of the best bets, if not the best bet of the 2 days. Just because when you look at the filly side of the juveniles, that's become a little bit tougher. Even though Princess Noor was awesome, there's some other decent fillies out there that have been winning some races. Whereas you look at the male side, Jackie's Warrior has just been head and shoulders impressive. And so this race here, the Champagne, was just, when it comes to the 2-year-old side, had to be the best 2-year-old race we've seen all year. And so easily made the list at number 7. All right, let's go to the next one. Number 6, the Irish Champion. All right, Magical upsets the horse that we talked about, Gayeth, earlier. And this was a Breeders' Cup winning in for the Longines Turf. So Magical upsets the filly. Magical upsets and wins here. And so obviously the turf is the idea there, but this had to be included because the turf, like you said, is a very, on our side of the country or the world, we don't have much, and so you got to think that these 2 horses, one of those, if not both, if they come over, will have a shot to win this race.
Yeah, I really, really like her a lot. I mean, I've liked Magical for a long time. Came over here in 2018 and got second in the Breeders' Cup to a horse that was pretty darn good. I think you might have heard of her. Her name was Enable. So
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that effort. So love the fact that she could be coming back. Hope she does. And like I said, I think she'll be pretty tough to beat here. She always shows. I mean, this is a really consistent horse. She always shows up with a good effort. 25 starts, 19 firsts or seconds. So 19 of 25 finishing first or second. That ain't bad, especially when you're facing the kind of company that she keeps overseas. And then, of course, she comes to the Breeders' Cup and runs into an Able, So it was no class drop for her there. So, I mean, I'm excited. I'm always excited for the international runners.
You got to remember, I just had to pull up that. I don't know what if you have I don't have her buyer that day, but I know the numbers on the Equibase, which I don't know what those are, but I know I have an idea of how those numbers run. Magical had a 132 that day, which is huge. It's one of the highest I've ever seen on Equibase. Yeah. And lost. Yeah, and you got to look only lost by 3/4 of a length.
Oh, it was a hell of a race.
And they were 9 lengths ahead of Sadler's Joy.
yeah, that's right.
I mean,
that was a hell of a race.
That was one of those too. We of course, us and the entire world had Enable singled, and so you're kind of thinking, oh shit, this is a race. We've got a race here. Magical is not going to give into this. So yeah, I mean, I think just naturally, considering she came into this race beating the boys, beating Gaiath, who probably will, if he does come to this race, she should be not. I mean, she's like the poor man's version of Enable this year.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Michael Myers asked a question about what kind of price we might get on her 4-1, since she's a filly, or might be a favorite because of her record. I hate to answer it like this, but it really just depends on who else comes. We're not sure internationally who's coming yet, but I don't think. I mean, she might be the favorite. You still might get a decent price, like 3 to 4-1, but she's going to be bet pretty hard.
Yeah, and the thing about her is, like Halterman, you said, and I know she won last time out, and I know she would have won if there was no Enable here last year or 2 years ago. But it's tough, right? Because she's one of those that likes to finish second and third and run really well, and so she's a tough one to get super excited about, as far as there's my single heading into the Classic or whatever, because she can beat you and she'll make you very pissed, and so it makes sense in that race. And I'll kind of a side note, our Breeders' Cup supplemental guide, the thing we hand out for free every year that has the 14 trends, and the turf obviously is one of the races, will be on there. And it's always interesting, as how dominant the internationals are on the turf or whatever, and so that might be a race where listen, just play the internationals and move on,
So yeah, I think you're right. And just real quick, she was 10-1 in 2018. And of course, Enable was 4-5. So that inflated everybody's prices, but she was 10-1. The good news is, if you're hoping, well, maybe we can get a price on her. She was the 1, 2, 3. She was the 5th choice that day. Channel Maker was 7-1. Robert Bruce was 9-1. Walgice was 5-1. And then of course,
I forgot about him.
Yeah, that was the one that everybody thought was kind of worried that might be able to beat Enable that day.
Right. Yeah.
Channel Maker being 7-1 is pretty hysterical. But yeah, he finished third from last that day. But anyway, that's kind of gives you an idea of what she was in 2018. I don't think we see that type of field this year, though. So expect a shorter price for sure.
And by the way, just as a frame of reference, that was 2 years ago. Channel Maker, I mean, the horse still wins. It's just one.
Yeah.
So it's what do you finish? Did you say third to last that day?
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of gives you kind of a framework. As far as what we have to offer when it comes to this race is not anywhere close to what these horses are that are going to be coming in from overseas. So that's why that seems like just a slam dunk. Play the horses, the unknowns, the internationals, whatever, and just I feel like you can kind of count on that. So if one of these horses from over here knocks off Gayeth and Magical, then it's just like, dude, okay, well, where the hell's that been all year? So
like when Little Mike won it. Remember that when that horse went wire to wire at Santa Anita, and it's like, what the hell just happened? Remember that?
Oh yeah, Little Mike. You're like, what? Like you're looking at the horse in the winter circle. You're like, what the fuck just happened? Like, what? Seriously, all year we worked on this all like for this long, and Little Mike just won.
Yeah,
like, that's the most frustrating thing. Yeah, yeah. All right, thanks to the next one, number 5, the Ballerina. Now this one is interesting because you talk about just one of the more fast, throw it down, impressive performances of the year. Serengeti Empress, a horse that needs no introduction when it comes to her speed, wins this race for the filly and mare sprint. And of course, moving forward to the Breeders' Cup, you got to, you have to wonder who's going to be in the filly and mare sprint. Are we going to see a challenger to her speed, as in the horse? What's the horse that ran the Oaks? The Baffert horse.
Gamine.
Gamine. Is Gamine going to run here? If Gamine runs in this race against her, how fast are they going to go? I mean, do they cancel each other out, so to speak, because they're both in the race? But this race, as it stands, made the number 5 because it was that impressive. I mean, when Serengeti Empress is good, she is great.
Oh yeah, and this is the race where she didn't break very well, and you're like, oh, she's done, and then they just rushed her to the lead, and she wouldn't let anybody by. Hell of a race. She backed it up, in my opinion, last time out at Churchill Downs. She absolutely threw down the gauntlet again and got absolutely nipped at the line by Bell's the One, who, by the way, will also be in the sprint. So, and you talk about Gamine and Serengeti Empress, and all they want to do is go fast. Well, Bell's the One could get the perfect setup again. So this is, and another thing, this is a race where we usually get a price. No matter what it looks like on paper, we usually get a price. I remember when Unique Bella was like, this horse will be unbeatable in this race at Del Mar, and she got smoked, and we got a huge price. Shamrock Rose in 2018 was a big price. It just sometimes it happens, and really recently it's happened with this race. So a lot to kind of unpack here. I really hope this is early in the day where it doesn't kind of ruin the late pick 4, pick 5, because this is a race I'm going to be really confused by. I already am. But as far as the Ballerina, probably the race of the year, in my opinion, for the Philly sprinters. Like, this was, just a fun race. It's like, that's one. It's like people were texting me that aren't really horse racing fans or were watching that day and going, damn, that was awesome.
Because that was August 8th. Was that Travers Day?
Yeah, Travers Day.
Yeah, and so that was, we were doing the live feed. I remember that, watching that race, and we were all just got back on the air. We're like, damn, like that was one of those where you just were like, holy shit, like
and that's why she's gonna lose. Yeah,
and that's why I love horses like this that throw it down, because when they are that good, it's just takes your breath away almost, because it's just they're so fast and they're so impressive when they just put them all away. And that's what Serengeti Empress is about. And to your point about prices, when you have this kind of crazy speed like that year with Unique Bella, and it folds, then this shit just happens. Like it just gets nutty. Horses that have no business winning the Breeders' Cup race, but the pace just completely collapses on them, and all of a sudden the setup is just like, they're like, hey, I'll take it. And that's when you get these massive prices. So if you think, I think it's one of those races that if you think Serengeti Empress and Gamine being in the same race, if that's what happens, you think it's just you're gonna completely burn each other out. Don't just settle on, well, Bell's the One or whatever. Like, that's the horse that's gonna, maybe. But also, what if it's name 3 or 4 different horses that are 30 to 1? Yeah, that could close. You just be good closers, or and make this thing just pay massive. And so I think when you have a crazy setup like that, sometimes you just kind of have to get weird.
Well, and I'm a firm believer these horses that lay it down on the line, they get to a point where they bounce huge. And so you have Serengeti Empress, who seems to have ran her eyeballs out 2 straight times, and now you're going to add in Gamine. She might throw in the towel early this time. She's been known to do that in the past. So I think it's going to be a wild one. I think the Ballerina, or I think not the Ballerina. I think the filly and mare sprint's going to be a weird race.
Well, what's awesome is you've got it's going to go one of two ways. Like, it's either going to be unbelievably impressive, Gamine or Serengeti Empress are just going to be like, they'll just keep going. You'll be like, holy shit, it'll be another ballerina, or it'll be like, oh man, like this is just this is collapsing, and it's going to be a mad rush. So, yeah, I mean, I think this one is wide open as far as that. But as far as that race, the ballerina, sprinting, Philly Mare Sprint, it's got to be the race of the year in that department. So had to make the list, and that was just super impressive. So number 5. All right, number 4, the Haskell. Your Kentucky Derby winner, Authentic, barely holds on in one of the most unbelievable finishes we saw all year. Barely held off NY traffic that day. Of course, we come to find out there's so many things that have happened since, right? That at the time you're like, oh my gosh, this horse will never get the Derby distance. This horse, he'll never do it. And then what the hell? Like, and he never wanted to go that far. Barely held off NY traffic. And then you learn, well, he had earplugs in, and Mike was just smooching at him, and he never heard him, and that's what ultimately got him off the horse, and that's why Johnny V got him on the horse, and that's why maybe he won the Kentucky Derby,
and why he lost the Preakness,
Yeah, there you go. So that race this race made the list for a lot of reasons. Let's put it that way. One, it's the most impressive and just kind of fun, exciting finishes of the year. Obviously, it had your Kentucky Derby winner as the winner, so that had to be part of that as well. And then also just kind of, like you said, the aftermath of what transpired after that kind of played into the rest of the year as far as the Triple Crown. But the Haskell in itself, I mean, it produced Authentic, who obviously has been great, so made the list.
This horse, Authentic, is definitely not a jockey's best friend, right? So Drayden Van Dyke got fired from him after the Santa Anita Derby, and then Mike Smith left him after the Haskell. And now Johnny V seems to be in trouble.
It's like a curse.
Yeah. And the problem is he's just really a quirky horse, and he's got to have certain things. Like, he can place himself in a great spot, but you have to make him do it. He's not going to do it on his own. But yeah, this was a hell of a race. The Haskell was one that just kind of made you go, what the hell just happened? Because he turned for home. And everybody watching thought, wow, this is going to be like a 12-length win.
Yeah.
And with every stride.
Even the call, too, it was just like, well, here we go. This is going to be just a walk in the park, and he's just dominating this race. And then he kept kind of, like you say, the closer they got to the wire, it got a little more intense and a little more intense.
I mean, it's just like, okay, laid back. This is awesome. Even 50 yards from the wire, it's like, well, okay, he's slowing down. He's still going to win by 3. And then it came from like 3 lengths ahead to he's a half ahead. So did he hold on? Like, holy shit. And then he goes on to win the Derby off that effort naturally. So, yeah, I mean, but listen, Authentic's going to be a big time player in the Classic one way or the other. And the Haskell, definitely one of the most memorable races of the season. So definitely, deserves to be this high on the list for those 2 reasons.
Yeah, for sure. Number 4, the Haskell. And again, it was just an unbelievable finish. So if you're listening, you've already heard the clip. If you want to watch the full race, you've got to go watch this because, this was back in, when was this? It was July 18th. So again, if this feels like a lifetime ago, and obviously a lot's transpired since, but one thing it's held true is Authentic's form. I mean, Authentic has been awesome. So you've got to give credit where credit's due, and obviously it produced a really nice horse in Authentic, who will be heading to the Classic next with. We'll see who's riding, Who knows at this point? It might be Halterman.
It won't be me.
That's your horse. You might. All right.
I'm going to ride him.
Number 3, the Met Mile. Now, every year, the Met Mile pretty much is one of the bigger races of the year. It's always a nice race. It always has a nice horse. And this year really was no different, with Vekoma just dominating the Met Mile and really stamped himself that day as being, okay, he's legit.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. This Vekoma, he is another one we've kind of forgotten about, right? Because he hasn't ran in forever. This was this last race.
This is July 4th.
I mean, but you look at the sprint and it's like, well, I mean, shit, he should probably win it, right? So, but yeah, this may have been like one of the best efforts of the year, because that Met Mile was absolutely loaded, and this horse just laid it on the line and held everybody off. So, yeah, the biggest problem is the layoff again. This was a win and you're in for the dirt mile. It doesn't sound like he's going there. It sounds like he's going to the sprint. And the sprint really is another division where we've lost some horses, or some horses have fallen off form a little bit that we thought were really good at the beginning. So he should be a pretty big favorite in there. And it's just going to be a matter of can they get him ready to fire huge off of, what is that, 4 months layoff? Yeah, it'd be 4 months. So that's troublesome. But other than that, I feel pretty good about his chances.
I mean, this horse has just been awesome this year. I mean, until then, right? I mean, he kind of was just slowly becoming, like you kind of like you weren't really for sure what he was, and then he won that race that day in the Met Mile, and you thought, oh, okay, because he had come into the year obviously. Last seen running into the in the Kentucky Derby, and then he just wasn't good, and so long layoff, and then won at Gulfstream Park, then won the Carter impressively, and then of course won the Met Mile impressively, and so you're like, okay, this horse, it's 3 in a row, and obviously a grade 1 there. We beat Network Effect, beat Code of Honor, beat Warriors Charge, beat McKenzie, beat Mr. Freeze, beat Endorse, beat Hog Creek Hustle, all horses that are still running that are very, at least half of those are very good horses.
Yeah.
Code of Honor, Warriors Charge, McKenzie, Mr. Freeze has just really won impressively. Endorse isn't a bad horse at all. Hog Creek Hustle is still running, so it's like that was a salty field, and he kind of thrashed them, went gate to wire and just really impressive. And so if that horse can do it at a mile, if they decide they're going to run the sprint, yeah, I mean, if as long as he's good off that layoff, I mean, he's going to be really tough to beat.
No doubt. No doubt.
This is a Breeders' Cup win you're in for the dirt mile, like you mentioned. There's a few people talking about Nick's Go on here.
People love Nick's Go.
Nick's Go. Great. Now I have to find that soundbite now, because I'll have to throw it into the actual podcast. Nick's Go. Heather was so trashed that podcast.
Oh man, she was having a good time. That was her birthday. That was all she wanted for her birthday, was to come on and talk about Nick's Go.
And that did not work well for her.
No, but think about it. She predicted this was going to happen way before it was cool. The Sam F. Davis. I think that was the Sam F. Davis that she thought he would win. Yeah.
Yep. Wow. That's hard to believe. Talk about a long time ago. All right.
Talk about a shit performance.
All right. We got 2 left. And we got 2 of the top contenders of the Classic. So we'll see who made 2 and 1. All right. Number 2. The Awesome Again. That's right. The Awesome Again with Improbable, just absolutely running an improbable race. Running from last, at one point I think there was a point in that race, for at least for me, where you're like, are we gonna see this horse get pulled up? Is this horse about to get pulled up? That's how weird it was that he was so far back, seemingly out of it, and then my goodness, just flew around the rest of the field like they were sitting still, including Maximum Security, his stablemate in midcourt. Yeah, I mean, you could argue this was not a great field, but he did run right by Maximum Security, who will be a second or third choice in the Classic. I mean, it's Maximum Security. This race had to make the list, obviously. Had to be very low on the list, because he probably will be the favorite of the Classic.
Yeah, I mean, I had somebody email me today talking about this race, and he said that Improbable's trash because Bob Baffert sent Maximum Security out to be a rabbit, and it was all set up, and it's all about politics. So there you go. But this was the weirdest. Yeah, that's what I have interactions with.
Did he ever respond?
Oh yeah. He's given me all kinds of advice. He said, just so you know, Bob Baffert's got some 3-year-olds. They're going to be pretty good next year. He told me about that.
Good.
But who cares? Because if you get 8 to 10 great 3-year-olds every year, what difference does it make? Yeah, I've had a lot of talks with him today. But as far as Improbable goes,
you love your job.
I love it. In this race, as far as Improbable goes. I'm watching it right now as I'm talking about it, and I'm with you. I thought, well, I picked Improbable, and he's going to get pulled up, so that's great. Hate that horse. And then he made me proud that day. It was a great race. I thought he showed another dimension in this spot, which was huge and something that he might need. I don't think he needs to be last in the Breeders' Cup, but he can sit off the lead and pounce and just fly by horses. That's what he showed me there. And listen, this is probably your Breeders' Cup Classic favorite right now. He finished #1 on the Breeders' Cup media poll, which kind of what you try to determine there is who's going to be the favorite in the race. So, right. I mean, I think he's going to be like a 7-2 type favorite, but 3 Grade 1 wins in a row, and he goes into the Breeders' Cup as the leading contender for Horse of the Year. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean anything because it's going to be determined in that race. Whoever wins is most likely going to be Horse of the Year unless it's a huge upset. So, right. But he's the leader in the clubhouse, so to speak. So if you compare it to a golf tournament after 3 rounds, Improbable's the leader. He's just got 1 round to go, which is almost insane to say, thinking about how much this horse has kind of been disappointing, and then how good he's been this year. But listen, this Awesome Again was awesome.
I mean, he yeah, you're right. As far as like just a frustrating. I mean, this horse hasn't won 3 straight races since his debuted. I mean, he went and won 3 straight, and then second in the Rebel, second in the Arkansas Derby. 4th in the Kentucky Derby as a favorite. Preakness 6th. Shared Belief he won. Pennsylvania Derby he was 4th. The Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile last year he was 5th. The Oakland Mile, which we talked about a second ago, to start off the year, he got beat by Thomas Dietat. It was 2nd. Yep. And then after that, it's like something clicked. And, this horse has rattled off three in a row, 3 Grade 1s. And, the Sansonita, the Hollywood Gold Cup, and, of course, the Awesome Again. Yeah, the Awesome Again definitely beating Maximum Security. That's a claim to fame for sure, the way he beat him especially. But also, you talk about, he flew, between those 2 races, flies out to Saratoga. Yeah. And goes and just really romps in the Whitney, basically, and we talked about it, Thomas Dietat, bad start, had a lot of excuses that day, but he beat him. He beat By My Standards, who was a pretty good horse, like we mentioned. Code of Honor, he beat. So it was another good field. And so to me, that race in itself, traveling, a horse that better than most, a horse that looked for any way to lose, and traveling all the way out to Saratoga and being, getting it done. Do you think, I've heard this a little bit, and you and I have kind of talked about this off air a little bit too, but do you think the fact that there has been no fans has changed his game? Because you got to remember, this is a horse that, other than the Oakland Mile, which he ran well that day. This year, I'll just say he's been a different horse. I mean, no fans. Do you think as a horse that's been such a fluky horse, freaking out in gates, and just been kind of his own worst enemy, so to speak, do you think that's been a big deal for him?
No doubt. He's an idiot. And the fact that he hasn't had to deal with that is huge. It's very huge. I can't really say it any better than that. This horse is a freaking moron. And the fact that he hasn't really acted up this year, yeah, but it tells me everything you need to know. I mean, you think back to some of his antics last year. I mean, that Pennsylvania Derby was just, I can't even think about it without getting sick. How dumb he was in that, and how he let that collection of shit beat him.
I've never seen you more mad about a horse.
Well, pick. and then just the Breeders' Cup was worse. They talked about leading up to that Breeders' Cup. Oh my God, he's the best he's ever been. He looks amazing. He gets to the paddock and he's just a nightmare. And he didn't. I mean, he tossed it in after like a quarter of a mile that day. I mean, that was just embarrassing. So, he's just. I think the fans not being there's got a lot to do with his success. He's not wanting people back. Let's put it that way.
And the thing about him that gives me confidence, and let's use that very lightly here, with him is that when he was a juvenile and he was he ran, if people don't remember this, ran on the undercard of the Breeders' Cup at Churchill Downs that year, 2 years ago. And for Bob Baffert, like, oh, this is the freak, this is the horse. Like, this guy is, of course, game winner went on later that day to win as well in the juvenile. But you're like, this guy is awesome. This is Bob Baffert's horse, and very lightly raced, and of course was similar ownerships to justify, and you kind of like, all right, this all makes sense. And so he's had a lot of hype and a lot of hope for a long time, and obviously the gap between him debuting and now, there was a lot of shit, so that's what kind of rubs you the wrong way. But if you kind of try to block that out and like, okay, this horse has always been highly regarded and now he's running to that level, it maybe gives you a little more confidence that he is finally what they've thought he would be all along, and he just took forever to develop. But he's one that he can make you look stupid, and you know that better than anybody.
I'll say this, and this, trust me, this is not, I'm not like bragging on myself, but something that I, from really early in the game, and I don't know why this is, I've been able to spot when a horse is going to be really good early. And after that Street Sense race at Churchill, I really felt like this is the next big Baffert horse. And then he ran really well at Los Al. And then it's like, I'm ready to see him as a 3-year-old. And he comes to Oaklawn for the Rebel, and he gets beat by Long Range Toddy. And from that moment on, it was just like just a shit show for this horse after that. It's like it put the curse on him, He comes back to the Arkansas Derby, and I thought he was god-awful in the Arkansas Derby before the race. He was nuts in the paddock. It was raining like crazy, so they couldn't saddle him in the infield. They had to saddle him in the paddock. He about killed somebody down there. He was awful in the post parade. He ran away from the post parade, and he still got second in the Arkansas Derby to Omaha Beach. And I'm not saying he gave him a scare, but he was coming. And then it's just like, Derby, awful. Preakness, awful. Comes back, shared belief. It's like, okay, maybe I was right. Maybe this horse is good again. And then the Pennsylvania Derby hit. And that was my last.
You're just like, I'm done.
Put him down.
I can't do it anymore.
You know what I mean? It's just like, I hate him, But
we were sitting there on on a table on like near the rail at the Pennsylvania Derby. And of course, Halterman had picked him, and we were obviously in the paddock as well before the race, and he's acting like an idiot, and he's just you could just see Halterman's demeanor just he was getting more pissed as to get closer to the start of the race, and then he starts acting up in the gate, and he's just like, son of a bitch. Like he pretty much had already ripped up his ticket before they even went out, because you're like, this damn horse is doing it to me again, and sure enough, he did. And
then he's right there, and he wouldn't pass him. He's like, still after all the shit, he's right there, and it's like Math Wizard that he's got to beat, and he finishes 4th in the race, and it's like, you're on, like, just pass him, you're right there. Sorry.
I mean, how do you get the guy that can't pass Math Wizard in the Pennsylvania Derby to the horse that just flew by all of them like they were sitting still in the Awesome again? I mean, that's just talking about a year difference, and I mean, he literally looks like a different horse. So
I mean, three straight Grade 1 wins, and he hasn't been close to losing any of them.
So
the only horse to beat him was Tom Satot. I mean, this year. So that's what I just have to forget about all. It's a love-hate. I loved him as a 2-year-old, hate him as a 3-year-old, love him again at 4. So.
when you undoubtedly type his name in the site, improbable for your pick in the Breeders' Cup Classic, I'm sure you'll have a little bit of hesitation. So.
Well, I put my preliminary picks out today, and I couldn't do it. I put Tiz the Law as the pick. I just couldn't write improbable. I just couldn't do it.
He's one that you got to play, and makes sense to play. Speaking of a horse that makes sense to play, and we'll see, and another horse that's got Horse of the Year right on this race, her last race, number 1, the Preakness Stakes. That's right, the Preakness makes her number 1 on the list. It is undoubtedly not just the best race of the Breeders' Cup Preps, but it might be the race of the year between Swiss Skydiver and your Kentucky Derby winner, Authentic, just throwing it down the stretch, just back and forth, and just seemingly, I think it's going to get by the whole way. Swiss Skydiver will not let him get by. I mean, this horse, you talk about the campaign this horse has had that's going to basically come to an end as far as this year goes at Keeneland, a track that she has ran at this year. she's just unbelievable. I mean, you look back at 2020, she got 5th in the Tampa Bay in a ungraded stakes race. She goes and gets 3rd in the Rachel Alexandra at Fairgrounds. Then she goes to Gulfstream Park and wins the Gulfstream Park Oaks. Then she wins the Fantasy at Oaklawn. Then she wins the Santa Anita Oaks at Santa Anita. She finishes 2nd in the Bluegrass. She finishes 1st in the Alabama, going a mile and a quarter, same distance as the Classic. She finishes 2nd in the Kentucky Oaks to a freak performance. She Dares the Devil, who's no longer running, and then wins the Preakness against the Derby winner Authentic at Pimlico. She's ran a different race at a different track all year long, and now she's back at Keeneland. Her first time she's ran this year at another track that she's already ran in. It's just pretty remarkable to think about. If she wins this race, Halterman, I mean, I guess let's first talk about the Preakness. How awesome was the Preakness? This has to be this has to be the number one.
Yeah, this is the race of the year, no doubt. So far, going into the Breeders' Cup, this is the race of the year. It was exciting, a stretch duel, female beating a male. It had it all, right? I mean, it was just a great story. The best female 3-year-old versus the best at the time male 3-year-old. Don't know if that'll hold up, but at that time, you could say he was squaring off in the last leg of the Triple Crown. Stretch duel all the way. It had everything. It was exciting. Boy, I don't really know what you do with Swiss Skydiver in the Classic. Right now, I'm kind of just a player on deep tickets, and that's kind of it. I can't get behind her to win. And Authentic, I think he's just going to play a huge factor in what the pace looks like and how that sets up. But they're both going to be big factors in the Classic. They both deserve to be there. There's absolutely no question about that. And they're not going to get beat bad. I know that, right? Like they're going to be there. They're not going to get embarrassed. These two, and they're running numbers that are similar and can be comparable. So yeah, I'm glad you put this one number one. I definitely thought it was the number one race, and it definitely deserved it. Not only number one of the Breeders' Cup preps, but the best all season.
That's one of those things is we are fans first and foremost of the game, and neither one of us, we were both. Did we think she would run poorly in the Preakness? No. Did we think she would win? No way. We were very much against her as far as a winning bet. Yet when they hit the top of the stretch, and we had picked Authentic, you're still the fan in you comes out where you're just like, holy shit, this is awesome. You don't for a second, you don't even care. Like it's just amazing to see these two horses go at it. And to me, that's what drives, a race like this is making the number one here. And not just that, you're talking about maybe the two top 3-year-olds, going at it in the Preakness. I mean, how can you, and they're both going to run the Classic and they both have Horse of the Year on the line. So yeah, there's a lot riding on that as they move forward. It's kind of unbelievable that we have the 3 horses that won the 3 legs of the Triple Crown this year, all with a shot to win Horse of the Year. It's not something I can ever remember happening. As far as since we've been following, where you have the horse that won each leg running all against each other in the same race with Horse of the Year on the line against other older horses that also have Horse of the Year on the line. It's pretty remarkable the way you think about it that way. Swiss Skydiver, Authentic, Tis the Law, Improbable, Maximum Security, Tom's Dietot, all 6 of those could win the Breeders' Cup. They're probably Horse of the Year. Yep. And so, and like you mentioned before, Swiss Skydiver were to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, she becomes not only a horse that wins Horse of the Year, but she's a horse that is one of the better 3-year-old fillies we've ever seen, ever.
Yep. A lot on the line for her, no doubt.
And I think you and I both agree that, it makes sense. Like, run her in, go for history. What do you have to lose? Go, if she's eligible, she won a win you're in, right? The Preakness was a win you're in for the Classic. Try it. Go for it. I mean, I would much rather try. Like, can you imagine going and winning? Say she goes and they run her in the distaff instead, and she just ravages Monomoy Girl, and you're like, holy shit! Like, they should have ran in a Classic. Like,
right,
imagine, So you might as well do it, right? Assuming that she's fine, she's right. Which it's hard to believe. It's just the campaign she's had that she's still here answering the call. I mean, even the times she's lost, she shows up.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Even in the Preakness, we weren't high on her before the race. We was like, she won't get embarrassed. We know that, like she's a filly that deserves to be there. And we'll say the same thing about her in the Classic. But, obviously the waters get deeper with each step you take. And this is going to be an awful tough race. But yeah, a lot on the line. And yeah, either horse that finished first or second there in the Preakness, if they can win the Classic, they're probably going to be horse of the year. And that's exciting because you can say that for a lot of horses that are going to be in that race.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, you talk about getting butterflies in your stomach before a race. That Classic,
that's going to be big time. Yeah,
if we can get this field to as it stands today, it'd be so odd too. You and I will be amongst a handful of people watching that race live, and for that kind of history and results on the line, it's pretty remarkable to think about watching that race.
Yes, it is.
Person. But
no doubt.
But yeah, Swiss Skydiver makes, hard to believe, right? Makes our number one race of the Breeders' Cup prep season. Number one, the Preakness Stakes.
We've got a tip here that Rashad's been trying to tell us all day. Omaha City, the 2-year-old going to run in the juvenile sprint. If for people who don't know, this horse won last time out at Gulfstream Park in the Hollywood Beach Stakes at 12-1. This horse won as a maiden, was 0 for 5, goes into the Hollywood Beach Stakes and wins. So I had no idea this horse was going to the juvenile turf sprint, but if he is, good luck. You have no reply.
I mean, I hope he wins, right?
Yeah, no, I'm rooting for him. I remember watching that race, but it kind of left my mind. So there you go.
John White would say yes to that.
Yeah.
Reinstate the Long Acres Mile. Yeah, I mean, if I've heard the Long Acres Mile, I've heard it once. I've heard it 100 times.
That's right. Yeah. There you go. See you there, man. Awesome. I hope we do. We'll cheer on Omaha City. I'm not confident.
Are you Rashad? Are you like an owner or something? Or
yeah,
owner?
My
Omaha City.
I'm going to get
He said Omaha City, so
same last name is the trainer, and same last name is the listed as owners on.
All right, so Rashad, let's get us in the winner's circle. This horse wins. All right, so
yeah,
we'll say heard it first on Blinkers Off.
This would be the upset of the Breeders' Cup, I think, if Omaha City wins this race.
Well, we talk about upsets, right? So,
well, listen, I remember the inaugural Breeders' Cup mom. Yeah, okay.
There you go. Cool. Father is a trainer.
Very cool. That is very cool. That was going to be my guess, but I didn't want to say it. That's cool, dude. That's really awesome.
So who calls the shots?
Yeah, well, the owner. The owner always calls the shots. Very cool. Very cool. This is a horse that I will always have an interest in now, no matter what.
Omaha City.
Yep.
Now let me let's people listening and on the live feed here, tell us what Mom for sure. What as coming into the race 0 for 5 as a maiden and winning. I mean, what was the actual thoughts on that race? Was it to run well? Did you actually think you could have a shot to win? What was kind of the thoughts behind that? And of course, running now from a 0 to 5 maiden to winning that race to running in the Breeders' Cup. What are the thoughts behind, like serious thoughts, not just like we're going to win. Like what were the thoughts and what are your thoughts moving forward on that horse? Because these people might want to play that horse.
Yeah. There's
no
question.
Court, no Breeders' Cup for me.
There's no question. Every owner enters a race thinking, well, yeah, we're going to win it.
Yeah, exactly.
So Mom probably thought they were going to win, and Dad probably thought, God damn it.
What the hell are we doing in this race?
Yeah.
We don't want a damn maiden. We can't.
Yeah. 2 race tracks on turf had a jockey change. So there you go. So, you throw out the 2 dirt races, let's say. So then it's an 0 for 3 maiden. And by the way, the horse is a maiden, got 5th on debut, and then has hit the board in 5 straight. So it's not like this was a poor maiden. He'd been running well. In Gulfstream Park's 2-year-old races, they were fairly tough this year, I thought. There were some good ones that came out of there. Golden Pal debuted there at Gulfstream. So, yeah. All right. You seem real interested over there, yawning at this.
Well, you know what? When I do the I'm gonna work on the trends this weekend and the trends article or the trends guide, and when I do that, maybe I come up with a case for Omaha City.
Well,
so
please do.
We'll see. Joking aside, that article or that guide is like kind of turned into being kind of important when it comes. There you go. Bulletin came out of the same race. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Bulletin. He won the inaugural sprint, juvenile turf sprint. Yeah, and then he was shit.
That's the last time he won.
That. Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, I think so. Actually, yeah, he was awful. I thought he would be a decent horse. Like he ran really well that day.
He was really well that day. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like 4-1 too.
Yeah, he got a huge number in that race before going up and winning the sprint. So juvenile turf sprint. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Let's finish this off. 3, 2, 1. So all the time we have checked out racingnews.com for our free picks and our premium selections on our handicap products page with the products link at the main menu at racingnews.com to learn more. Remember, we're already beginning our work on the all-inclusive wagering guide to the 2020 Breeders' Cup at Keeneland on November 6th and 7th. Subscribe to Racing News Premium. Get this wagering guide for free. Pre-sale will begin soon on our products page at racingnews.com. And remember to be on the lookout for that supplemental guide that will be available free on the website, covering the 14 trends to the Breeders' Cup. Basically, one important trend for every race at the Breeders' Cup that's turned out to be very helpful in the past year. So look for that. We're currently covering 30-plus tracks, offering free picks. We're on Twitter at Racer_Dunes, Instagram, and Facebook. You can listen to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, at racingdudes.com. Remember to go check out the Magic Mike show. They did the Golden Hour, or no, Golden Shower. Is it Golden Shower or Golden Hour?
Golden Shower, yeah.
Golden Shower. They did the Golden Shower today. The Pick 4. It's a new shower sequence that combines the last 2 races of the day at Santa Anita and Golden Gate. So make sure you go listen to them as well for that if you actually want some handicapping for the weekend. And, of course, go to racingnews.com for all our picks and premium selections for the weekend. Halterman, how you feeling about your big OU win? And what was that? 4 overtimes, 3 overtimes?
Yeah,
over Texas.
I'm ecstatic we won. I'm really happy for yes, for sure. I'm really happy for the players. The players deserved to win that game. They got failed by a coach making $8 million a year and really just tried to blow the game pretty much the whole game. And his players who have bailed him out for 3 years, they got a lot of young guys, and they haven't been able to bail him out of his dumbass coaching for this season. But they grew up at the Texas game and were able to do it. Really, just one of the more wild games I've ever watched. Spencer Rattler, 5-star quarterback, gets benched in the first half, and rightfully so. He was god awful. Comes back in the second half, plays better, and then in overtime plays fantastic. So I'm happy that we won, and Rick James, you ruined my speech. Listen, I don't know, Rick, I don't know who you are, dude, but you're freaking hilarious.
Rick James says, Golden Shower, next show, the Cleveland Steamer.
Magic knows all about that one, I bet.
I would tune in for the Cleveland Steamer, Rick. Okay, I would definitely tune in for that.
Oh shit, that's great.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah. So OU's back.
They're not back. They're not back. I'll tell you what about OU. It's becoming more and more clear. OU, it's all about the quarterback play, right? Like they're the same team every year under Riley. Like shit defense. but they got a great quarterback. And so Rattler, even though he's been pretty good all year, he wasn't elite. We saw him be elite in the fourth quarter and overtime. And so OU won. But when they don't have elite quarterback play, they're very average. So something to look for the rest of the season. It's pretty much a waste of the season anyway now. But
well, I mean, and that's been their. I mean, look at the quarterbacks that have come through there. I mean,
well, absolutely, yeah.
They've been able to be built out because they have had exceptional quarterbacks come through there. Yeah. Baker, Kyler, and now Spencer. So it's or Kyler, I guess, and Baker, and I've been. I mean, what would you rate Kyler? Has he been the number one through last?
I think Kyler Murray is a better player for sure. Yeah, than Baker. But Baker is number one, and because he was at OU 3 years, so he has more popularity. But as far as I think Kyler Murray's a better player than Baker Mayfield.
What about Jalen Hurts? He had some playing time this week, I saw.
Well, and Jalen, last year the thing he was able to do was control the ball because he ran the ball so well. And OU, they had several options, and they could kind of hide their defense because they could kind of run over, the Big 12 teams. And so, they had an identity, I guess, offensively. They were kind of struggling to find one this year because they got a lot of young guys. So they're starting to kind of find it now. But anyway.
There is not, and I watched the what is it on Netflix? The QB1 or whatever. Spencer Rattler was on. So I knew who he was. You did too. But heading into the season, and it's like he's such a punk. Yeah. I mean, he really is. Like, he looks like an idiot. Mm-hmm. He takes his helmet off. You're like, dude, you are just everything about you look like an idiot. Like, just have some class, And I don't know. Like, I can't get behind. Like, he rubs me the wrong way. The guys like Kyler and even Baker, who I know showboated a little bit and stuff, but you kind of you get behind that, because he was like pumped up and I don't know, but with him and Kyler obviously, and even Jalen, he was a leader, but Spencer, man, I don't know, he just rubs me the wrong way.
I can't stand him at all. But to be honest,
he's a good quarterback, though. I mean, he can throw the hell out of the ball. So
he is, and it's a weird situation for me because I'm with you. Like, he makes me kind of sick when I look at him. It just because he's just arrogant, and like I said, he's Baker was super arrogant, but he also was kind of I could go have some beers with that dude. He's kind of just a dude. Where this guy's just like you're just like a punk, like. Just a punk.
You're like, I don't know how to talk to you.
Right, yeah. Like, I don't even, yeah. But anyway, Kyler, you loved him because he just plays. There's nothing really cocky about him even. And Baker's kind of that guy you rally around if he's on your team. And Jalen is just he's a good dude. Like, I felt sorry for him because he just wasn't as good as those two guys, but he was still, likable. This kid is not likable at all. and he just beat Texas, and I'm like, I don't like him that well.
His career, especially depending on what happens to Lincoln and whatever, right. His career will be interesting to watch because he's I don't know, like, you could just see him going a couple different ways as far as career goes. You think about him being in the NFL right now, and he'd get absolutely murdered. Like, he might die on the field, because he needs to grow, he needs to develop. And so obviously Lincoln being a good coach for that in that regard, as far as being an offensive mind, I mean, that's important. But if he leaves or they gets fired, all of a sudden you got this little punk that got world talent that now what happens to him, so it'll be interesting to see what happens to this kid.
Yeah, he's been really good, and he's also been really frustrating because he does have elite talent, like big time talent, but he makes a lot of mistakes. But again, he's young, and he doesn't have the luxury of having CeeDee Lamb, like these other guys did. We don't have a top receiver at the moment. They're all young. They're trying to develop. They're trying to get the next CeeDee Lamb going, and they probably have one. They just he's not there yet. I don't know if they have it. CeeDee Lamb was a freak. Like, that's the best receiver they've ever had. They don't have that, but they've got big time guys that they're trying to get going right now. But
anyway. CeeDee Lamb, man, he's He's playing well.
Oh, he's
been great for the Cowboys already. So
he's, OU's had a lot of great receivers over the years, a lot of great players. He's right up there. One of the best I've ever watched at OU. I mean, that guy's just a freak, elite skills.
Oh yeah, you could just watch. I mean, I told you right at this moment I saw him. It was that game. It was the game before his senior. Well, was he a senior or junior when he left?
Yeah, he was a junior when he left. So you're talking about the Alabama
year. Yeah, the Alabama game. Whenever it was Malcolm Brown that was hurt, and I was like, I texted you. I was like, dude, he's your star, man. Hollywood Brown. Yeah, sorry, not the Rams running back.
I got to field this question real quick. What about Rambo? He sucks. I'm so sick of Rambo. That guy has had so much hype. Here's the deal about Rambo. He has no escapability whatsoever. He's just a straight line runner. You get him out in open space and he's quick and you think he can make plays. He can't make plays. And that's been the biggest problem. He's built like a Hollywood Brown, like a Mark Clayton, like a Sterling Shepard. And that's kind of what they need him to be. And he's not that guy. He can't make anybody miss. You run him a bubble screen and he just dances around and they get a yard. So I'm not a fan of Rambo at all. Sorry. Go ahead. I can't believe somebody asked me an OU question. That's the first time I got to answer that. I was really excited. And I just trashed the kid, so that's good. Trash.
Yeah. He's like, well, I am his cousin. So
right. He's like, well, I was a big fan of the racing dudes, but not anymore.
Yeah. Unsubscribe. You'll get an email from Rambo's cousin.
Well, here's the deal. Some of it is I think they're misusing Rambo, because what I would do with him, I would just run him on a lot of go routes. He would be my deep guy. I'd quit trying to throw the ball to him in space and just try to get him going vertical, because he's very fast and maybe he can get by some guys. I mean, anyway.
Hey, was a random question, but you're a college guy, and this is we'll stop the college podcast after this. DK Metcalf, was he I don't remember him being like star power at Mississippi.
Oh, you don't remember it because his teams weren't that great, but no, he wasn't like a guy that you're gonna think, oh, he's a can't miss type of guy in the NFL. He was really good. But you could go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say you could see it last year a little bit, like he showed signs, but then it wasn't quite there. And the type of improvement from last year to this year has been exponential.
Yes, and
he looks like, and he's built. He kind of looks like, what he looks like, and I mean he's not there yet, but he's like the new Megatron. Like tall, fast.
Big, yeah.
Just could make any catch. Like he's got some improvement obviously to get there, but he's showing to where he can be very, very dependable, and obviously his size makes him elite.
That was the big thing in college. Like his size was very noticeable, and they used that size. But the other parts of his game, it wasn't like, oh, he's a can't miss type guy.
Yeah, his route running has really improved this year for sure, and it helps when you've got undoubtedly your front runner for MVP, Russell Wilson, throwing the ball to you, who seemingly just literally chucks it straight up in the air and it can drop on a dime 50 yards down the field. So
he's the only one that can kind of rival like the crazy throws that Mahomes makes. I'm not saying he's Mahomes, but he can make some just crazy plays where it's like, I don't really think there's another quarterback that can really do that.
That game Sunday night was unbelievable.
Hell of a game. Yeah, hell of a game. And somehow the guy on the other side of the ball played really well in that game. And he can do that sometimes. And I don't get him.
He's the most frustrating player.
At times, you watch Cousins and it's like, yeah, damn, like he's decent. And then at times you watch him and it's like, how the hell is he in the league?
I know, but I feel like sometimes the games that he is playing well, he almost looks surprised. He's like, yeah, like I did it. He caught another touchdown.
I don't know if I text you or somebody. We were watching the game. Maybe it had to be you. Maybe it was our fantasy group. And I said something similar. It's like, look at Cousins. He looks shocked that he just threw that pass.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's Cousins. And then you'll feel good about him, and then he'll throw 4 picks next week. So that's what he does. So all right. That wraps up the football podcast.
I was hoping I'd get another Sooner question. Nobody asked.
Yeah. You pissed off the one guy that cared about.
I know. Yeah, he logged out.
Yeah. So Rambo, he's a Rambo fan. So, but yeah. So next week we will have hopefully have John White on the pod. So you and I won't have to do much talking on that one. Nope. And then the next week we'll have pre-entries. We'll have a little bit more detailed handicapping as far as these races go. And then the next week, depending on when we do it, we'll be live from Lexington doing the pod, or we might do it and then go to Lexington. So we'll see. But yeah, the dudes will be there. So lots come in the Breeders' Cup coming up. Yeah, well.
Okay, good deal. You're not Rambo. Thank you. Well, Rambo is our most veteran guy, so that's why you've heard a lot about him. But he's not great. Go ahead.
There you go. Halterman knows everything about everything of OU, so
that's true. I've been a season ticket holder for 21 years now. Yeah. So.
But not this year, right?
Well, I technically am, but I can't go. They only allowed basically donors to go. So
right.
But I do still have them, sort of, you know. So anyway.
So you'll be back next year.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So you won't get to, watch them on their national title run this year. So
yeah, right, yeah.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Good luck this weekend. All right. We told you that would be a BS show, and that's what it was. So
yeah. After
it was fun though, talking about the talking about the preps. I mean,
yeah.
Hopefully, I feel like when you go through those, like the ballerina races like that you're like, damn, I forgot about that race. Or like when I was going through the list and I was going through all the Breeders' Cup races, I thought, man, that was a good one. Like that one was, and I tried to, pinpoint races. Obviously, Midnight Bisou in the Fleur de Lis. If she was running in the distaff, I probably would have included that. But I tried to include horses that at least were, Vexatious was kind of on the fine line because it was like, well, she is still running. And she upset, and that was an exciting race. So I tried to include horses that had some sort of relevance towards the Breeders' Cup itself too.
Oh, so. You did a good job of it. I mean, we sat there and talked about all of them. So yeah, that's good. It's good to, I don't know, when you get this close to an event like that, it's kind of like the 3 weeks before the Kentucky Derby. I mean, people are playing races, but they're really, it's the interesting thing is the Breeders' Cup, and that's what people are looking at now. So.
All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in. We will be back next week. I don't know how we'll do the John White one. I don't think he's going to be on the video.
Oh gosh. Yeah, he won't know how to do that.
We'll get him on through. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yep.
We'll get him on through the feed, the audio wise somehow.
Yeah. That's what we'll do.
Let him. We'll just sit back and you guys can watch us listening to him. We'll just like chilling back.
That's all it'll be. Yeah.
But that actually.
I was gonna say we could take next week off and just pre-record the questions and just play them, and then
Well, honestly, it will be a lot of fun because we can have interact. People can be listening and asking questions, and that would be, a chance to actually ask John White questions, right? So, I mean, as far as Breeders' Cup goes, so that would be exciting, So
yeah.
He's high right now off of his not literally high, but he's on a high. He might be high off his Lakers winning. So he's very excited. He's very pissed at the Chiefs though, because they knocked him out of his survivor pools last week.
Yep.
Sorry about that, but
I bet he brings that up. How much you want to bet?
$1,000.
Yeah,
I'm confident he will.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rashad. Thanks for coming, and thanks for tuning in. Remember to check out more information at racedudes.com if you haven't been there yet. And Magic Mike Show, go check them out. And we'll be back next week.
And thanks, Rashad, for your comments as well on and letting us know about that horse. That's awful cool. Win or lose, it's just kind of cool to know that you're going to be there and you're excited. That's good.
Might throw that horse in my top 4 in the consensus picks.
I'd have to do it. Yep.
For a long shot. Jets
0-16. I think you're right.
I almost picked up Miami this week defense, and that's saying something because don't they play the Jets?
Right? Yeah, they do. They should dominate them, but they're still Miami, so we'll see.
I know. Yeah, the Jets. I don't know what how Gase still has a job is way beyond me. I thought he'd be fired last year.
Yeah.
When you pay a guy that much money to be your star running back and you can't figure out a way to use him, that's pretty fucking bad. I mean,
it's pretty bad. Exactly. Oh man.
I mean, it's just one and Don. You know, I don't know. Darnold, I feel like isn't like he's not Trubisky bad. He's he's not Daniel Jones bad, but he's not great, and he's got a lot of improvement. And the unfortunate thing is he doesn't have any help. As far as coaching. I mean, how could you think Gase is going to turn him into be anything good? So
I really don't know. That's the problem. Yeah, I don't think he's great, and he has no help. And it's like, what are you supposed to do here?
Like, I think he could be like a Cousins or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I think with the right coaching, the right system, the right receivers around him, Thielen for Cousins is really good, obviously. But you look at a guy like Robbie Anderson who left, and he's awesome. He's playing really well this year, and he leaves. It's like he had hit and miss times with the Jets, but he was never great consistently. It's like they just don't know how to use their guys.
No, they don't. They don't. They haven't. They haven't for a while, right? I mean, this team's just kind of been a joke since like Rex Ryan's like one or two good years.
AFC Championship team, yeah. It's tough to be tough for Slim. He's a New York Giants and Jets fan. So
I know. I feel bad for Slim.
Barkley goes down. Bell leaves. He's a rocking Frank Gore this week. So
yeah, that's right.
He's still around. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.